and welcome. It's Tyriozephalus, and I wanted to talk about today first. So, in a few days, we'll have Xuan becoming the next banner, which I'm really excited about. I've been saving for her for basically since the Luocha banner. And I want to hopefully E6 S1 her. I got lots of jades for her. And I've been on the Fuxuan mains subreddit, and in the past couple of days, I've seen more and more posts asking how to build Fuxuan or making polls about what are the best builds from people who are just confused about how to build her. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit for today's stream. And so the one thing you need to understand about Fuxuan is that she scales off of HP. And this is a problem with a lot of people. I've seen they were building her based on defense, which all the other tanks so far have been scaling off of defense. But Fuxuan actually scales off of HP, which makes it so that if you look at the bottom right, the light cone texture of memories, which is in the Herda shop, you can buy it as a free-to-play option in the Herda shop. That's a really good option for her, and so far that light cone was pretty bad for any other tank, but for her it's actually really good, and I wouldn't say it's as good as her signature light cone, but it's pretty good, and especially if you're doing a pure tank build. And that is because it gives her a shield every time she does an ultimate. I have my friend Momo says hi. Hey Momo. And yeah, so the texture of memories, that gives her a shield, I think every time I'm not sure if it's when she uses her skill or when she ultimates, but she should have a shield, I think, for 2 rounds every 3 rounds. So, I guess that's either her skill or her ultimate, because she does everything. You do skill, basic, ultimate. Skill, basic, ultimate. If you have good ultimate uptime. I think it's her ultimate. So she does really well with the texture of memories LC. Her best in slot light cone, especially for sub-DPS, is her signature, which gives her 24 at S1, gives her 24% HP, which makes her more tanky. Even though for the texture of memories, the shield gives her 32% of her HP, gives her a shield. So with the texture of memories, you actually can have the HP a little lower. That's why I wrote priorities for if you're doing the sub-DPS build and you have her light cone, you want about 8,000 or more HP. But the light cone makes it easier because it gives her 24% HP. And the texture of memories, because it gives her a pretty tanky shield every couple of rounds, I said she only needs like 7,000. Maybe she only needs less. The reason 8,000 about is recommended was when we heard about what her kit does, and it's basically she takes up 65% of the damage. She mitigates the damage that her teammates get, and she gets all the damage, and all of the damage comes to her. And when she gets her HP below 50%, she can heal herself up to 90%, I think, and that is like her kit or her gimmick. And but the one thing that makes it dangerous for her is if there's an AoE cleave in, for example, MOC stage 9 or 10. The Ebendir has a big cleave that I think somebody calculated. If it does 2,000 damage to 2 or 3,000 damage to one person, it would do about 7,000 damage to her. So you want her to be really tanky and have enough damage to take that kind of hit. So that's why she needs a lot of HP, but she has a lot of she has the biggest base HP, I think, that any character will have. So her with her signature light cone, her base HP will be 2,589, and with her texture of memories light cone, her base HP would be 2,533. So it's actually pretty, it's doable. You do have to farm a little bit. I think I farmed for like a month and got Longevous Disciple set, which is what most people recommend. But then later when I was farming for Seele and Silver Wolf, I got the Quantum set, which just happened. I didn't get any crit damage for the characters I was actually farming for, but I got a bunch of HP substat Quantum set pieces, and that was actually better than my Longevous set. But if you want to know which cavern to farm, the one with the Longevous set is probably best, because the Longevous set, if you have two pieces, it gives you 12% HP, which she likes a lot. If you have 4 pieces, I think it gives you 16% crit rate, and if you know, Fuxuan also has, I think, 18% crit rate from traces, and then her skill also gives another, if she's at level 80, her skill gives another 12% crit rate. So if you put the Longevous set on her and get her to 80, she has 50% crit rate just for free, without you even finding any substats. Of course, if you want to use the Quantum set, which is more DPS-y than the Longevous set, because it has really great quantum and defense shred set effects, then you need to make up for those 16% crit rates that the Longevous set would be giving you. And for the Sub-DPS build, you want to get Broken Keel, because Broken Keel, if you have Effectress 30%, you get 10% crit damage for the entire team. So your Seele will get crit damage, your Silver Wolf will get crit damage, and I guess whoever you have as a buffer, maybe if you have Bronya, they will get that crit damage, and it will help, and it will also help her if you have her built as a Sub-DPS. And what I have to say for the effect res, so you get 10% effect res from Broken Keel itself, and then Fuxuan at level 80 also has, or 70 to 80, has also 10% effect res as her traces. So you actually only need 10% effect res as substats. So what you want to prioritize for a Sub-DPS build, you want to have the 8,000 HP that you need to survive cleaves so she can self-sustain, and then 10% effect res from substats to get to 30% substats. And it's generally recommended for her to have speed 134. Now, that being said, I don't think it's as important as the HP and the effect res, because the HP makes it so that she can survive, which is her main role, is to be a tank, right? And to sustain your team. The speed, most people think speed is really important. I think that, honestly, the 134 speed makes it so that in the first round, she gets to go twice. I don't think that she'll have problems surviving in the first round. Usually her trouble is prolonged fights, so I don't think it's that important to have 134 speed, but most people just suggest that 134 speed threshold that lets her go twice in the first round, like any other character. Personally, I think it's not the most important. It's not as important that other people say, but it's still good to get speed. And then, of course, since she's a sub DPS, you want to build crit damage on her. And like I said earlier, she already has a lot of crit rate just in her kit. Without you actually getting crit rate in the substats. So getting crit rate in substats is not that important, because she has about 50 if you use the Longevous Disciple set. So, but if she's a pure tank, the recommendation is a little bit different. Because if you don't want to go sub DPS with her, if you just want to make sure she can sustain, you don't need the four-piece set effect of 16% crit rate. Because you don't want her to do any damage, you just want her to sustain and do her job. So usually what people get is 2 pieces of Weathering Snow, and that gives you a damage reduction. Now, the 4-piece set effect for Weathering Snow heals her when she gets under 50%, but that never happens to her, or should never happen to her, because her kit makes it so that she heals herself when she gets to 50%, so that 4-piece stat effect is kind of useless for her. So you want to combine 2 pieces of Weathering Snow and 2 pieces of Longevous. And for what you could also do, if you think speed is super important, you could also get Hacker Space, 2-piece Hacker Space, to get a little bit more, to get the speed bonus from there, but you still want the 12% HP from the Longevous Disciple. For if you have a pure tank, then you can do 2 things for the planar sets. Either you get Broken Keel for what I said earlier, if it gives crit damage to your team, and you might want that for your Zela or Bronya or whoever gets it. You can also get Fleet of the Ageless, because that set gives her 12% of HP, which makes her a little bit tankier, and it also gives some, I think, 8% attack for the entire team, which makes it so that it's not, technically for a DPS, Broken Keel is better, but Fleet of the Ageless is not terrible, and actually if you have a Kafka or a Dot team, then crit damage doesn't help you at all, and you actually want Fleet of the Ageless. So if you have a Kafka team, you might want to use Fleet of the Ageless. If you have a regular DPS team, then you might want to use crit damage, use the Broken Keel. And so for her pure tank build, the priorities, I said 7,000 because she has that really tanky 30% shield that she gets for 2 rounds every 3 rounds. Speed 134, and I think that speed is more important if you have a pure tank build, because, and I guess people could argue about that, most people think speed is really important. Just so that she has her ultimate always up, because the ultimate makes it so that she can, the ultimate for one heals her entire team by 5%, I think, and it also gives her stacks to be able to, when she gets under 50%, to heal herself. So if you haven't used her ultimate the entire time, then she won't be able to heal herself, and you need that. So that's why most people say she should have speed 134. And one thing I forgot to point out, if you use the Texture of Memories light cone, the light cone, I think, has effect res, so you don't need to go fish for effect res to activate the Broken Keel. but it doesn't have ERR. It doesn't have energy regeneration rate increase, which her best in slot, she already shut her eyes. It has the energy regeneration rate effect. So a lot of people, if they do the sub-DPS build with she already shut her eyes, they use an HP rope instead of energy regeneration rate. And if you use texture of memories, you do want the energy regeneration rate, because then she might take 4 to 5 rounds to be able to ultimate, and in that time your team might wipe. So those are some consideration to do when you are pulling for Fuxuan and you want to build her to be your main tank and be the only sustain on the team. I'm just gonna check if there's anything else in the